मैं कट करके इशारा करके आ जाऊंगा, वो तो बाद में एडिट हो जाएगा. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yunish Ali. I am your polity faculty. Today, I am going to take up a topic on the president. As we know that, as a chapter itself, as well as an office of a president, is very important in the polity. It has been a favorite area of UPSC also. It has asked many questions not only in the mains as well as in the prelims, because it requires there are few technical concepts which is included in the president, because the election process of president is different from the normal election process. The values of the votes, the single transferable votes, that's a little bit of the complex concepts which require a little bit of time to understand it. So that's why we are starting with the topic that is of president today. So let me tell you the brief that what we are going to do in today's chapter. So in the president, first of all, we will be studying about the qualifications. What are the qualifications a person should have to become the president? Then we will be discussing and look out that what are the various process of election process of a president, and who compose that of electoral college, because the election process of president is different. There is an electoral college which elects the president. Then we will be also look out the concepts of single transferable votes, how it has been elected, what is the process they are going to follow, how the votes are being counted in case of the president. Apart from that, we will be studying about the various powers the president has. It has the powers like executive power, legislative power, judicial powers, diplomatic powers, and the military powers. So that we will be discussing it. Apart from that, we will be also look out what are the various impeachment process of this president. So this is a general outline which I have told you that are the areas which we are going to discuss today in the chapter of president. So let's start with the first, that is the eligibility. So if we talk about the eligibility of a president, we know that the president is a first person of India, and everyone will prefer to be the part of this extreme office. So they wanted to be in that office. As we know that India is a republic country. Okay, what is the meaning of republic? It means that the head of the state will be elected from the people. Whereas if we see, there is another system that is called monarchy system, which is prevalent in the UK, United Kingdom. In that, the head of the state will be from the royal family. But that is not the case in India. In India, the president is being elected among the people by the people. So, republic means the office of president is open for everyone, for citizen of India. So obviously, everyone will prefer to be the president, the first person of this country. But our constitution set down some eligibilities, okay, that everyone cannot become the president. There are few criteria, few eligibilities which you have to fulfill so that you can contest the election. And then if you win it, then definitely you will become the first the first person of this country. Okay. So what are the eligibilities which has been set down in our constitution? The first thing is that it should be citizen of India. Only citizen of India are allowed to contest for the presidential election. Now, here is a catch. UPSC has asked a question on that line also. In India, we have seen that there are 5 ways of acquiring the citizenship. Okay, so it's a homework for you to identify that what are the 5 ways through which a person can acquire the citizenship of India. In Indian case, a person who is acquiring the citizenship, irrespective of any of the method, he is eligible to run for the election process. Whereas in case of USA, there is a only term, the citizen which has been by the blood or by birth. Only in that case only he can run for the election process, the presidential election. But whereas in India, it is open. If you need only to be citizen of India, irrespective of whichever the method you have used to acquire the citizenship. So that's a very important thing. The first thing is that you have to be, you have to be the president of India. Second criteria is of your age. Obviously, to become the first first citizen of this country, so you need to have a maturity level. So that we believe that a person by the age of 35 years, he is well experienced and developed a few maturities. So that's why the age criteria has been kept out, has been kept in, and that is that you have to be above 35 years of age. Another one is that you have to be qualified to become the member of Lok Sabha. Pay catch, Lok Sabha, not Rajya Sabha. The UPSC can play a game here, okay? In the eligibility, they can change the word, and that's how they usually play in the prelims, okay? So pay attention to run for the candidate. As a candidate for the presidential election, you should be eligible to become the member of Lok Sabha. There are few criteria to become the Lok Sabha member. That is like your age group, again citizenship, you have to be of sound mind, and all those criteria that you will be studying in later on when we will be dealing with Parliament chapter. Okay, so these are the three, and apart from that, a person should not hold the office of prophet. That is very important. Now, the question comes up, what is office of prophet? To be very honest, the constitution does not define the office of prophet. It only tells that the person should not hold the office of prophet. Then the question comes up, then how we can identify that a person is holding an office of prophet or not? From the various judgments of Supreme Court, we get to know that we have roughly made a definition that this office will be considered as an office of prophet. If a person is present there, it will not be considered or eligible for the presidential election. So if I go within a very crux manner, any office where there is an interference directly or indirectly of a government, that office will be considered as an office of prophet. For example, take this image, okay? So the person is the Chief Secretary of Uttar Pradesh government. So he's a Chief Secretary of an Uttar Pradesh government. The office has an influence of obviously in government. So when he is as a Chief Secretary, he cannot run for the election of president. If he wants to run for the election process for the president, he has to resign from his office. Okay, so this will be considered as an office of prophet. Now, these are the eligibilities. Now the constitution kept certain additional eligibility also. Okay, if you fulfill those eligibility, now other things are also required. One thing is that of nomination process. The nomination process, it's tell about that when you are nominating your name, there should be some primary proposers. There should be few people who will be supporting you. Okay, at least, yes, we are with you. When you run for the election, at least we will give you 50 votes or 100 votes. There should be some surety, na? Because the thing is, as I said that, the office is very extreme office. It's a very prestigious office, and everyone will prefer to go to that office. If it is not setting this criteria, what will happen? That everyone will file their nomination and run for it. And you know that even getting a status that I run for the presidential election, कि भाई मैं राष्ट्रपति का election लड़ा था. To get that status also, people will fill the nomination. You have seen in the Panchayati Raj and Lok Sabhas and your General Assemblies elections, there are a few people who are filling it just for the sake of their, so that they get the status in their locality that look how my status is. So to avoid that, it has been decided that when you are filing a nomination, there should be at least 50 proposers to you and 50 seconders also. Then only you will be allowed to file your nomination. And the nomination will be filed in front of the secretary of the Lok Sabha secretary. Okay. Another thing that is you have to keep the 15,000 as a deposit. That's obviously that's not a big amount if you're running for the presidential election, but it has been the amount which has been fixed out. So these are the eligibilities and the nomination, and after these fulfilling all those things, you will be allowed to run for the presidential election process. That's the idea. Now, let's move to the next part, that is the election process. You filled your nomination. Now the second part will be that the election will conduct. How the election is going to be conducted for the presidential post. We know that in case of the Prime Minister, the central ministers, Council of Ministers, Union Cabinet Ministers, and even in the Chief Ministers in your states. In fact, in the Lok Sabha, in the Panchayati Raj also, there is a provision of direct elections. You go there, you elect your favorite political party, you vote for that, or you vote for the candidate who is sitting there, who is contesting on that. You directly vote it down, and when they win it, they form the government and they elect the chief minister or the prime minister. Whereas in the case of president, as we said that the process is, the office of president is republic, means it is open for every every individual or every person, as well as the process is from the people also. But to conduct the presidential election, and if we allow everyone to vote it out, it is going to create a lot of cumbersome process. So to avoid that, we come up with an idea of indirect election. What is an indirect election? These are we the people of India. What we are going to do, that we are going to elect our MPs and MLAs from our constituencies, and we will send them to the parliament and legislative assembly, state legislative assemblies also, and they will then select the president. So that's our whole process. The president is indirectly been elected by the people, but in the process of voting is been done by the MPs and MLAs. So we create an electoral college for the presidential election. So who all are the member of electoral college? That will be the next question that we will be discussing in the next slide. That who constitute the electoral college of president. Now, coming to the electoral college, as I said that we the people of India are electing our MPs and MLAs, and we are trusting them that yes, they will be selecting a right candidate for our the post of president. So we form an electoral college. In that electoral college, the few MPs and MLAs are allowed to vote. Who are these? The first thing is the parliament. So the parliament has two, Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha. But in the parliament, there are two types of people, two types of MPs. One is nominated and another one is elected. For example, Sachin Tendulkar, Rekha, these are the nominated. We know that in Raj Sabha, the president can nominate 12 individuals, right? So these are the nominated ones. And there are few which are being elected. Obviously, they are not few, they are more. So the elected one, like Hema Malini, okay, she was elected from the Mathura constituency. The people of Mathura, the constituency, they elected and sent them Hema Malini to the parliament. That's a crux, the process, electoral process. Now, the thing is, as I said that, we the people of India electing our MPs and they are electing the president. Have we elected the nominated members? Not, no. So, in the electoral college, the nominated members are not allowed in the voting of the presidential election. Okay? The elected members are allowed because we elected them. We voted them. Now they will be allowed to choose it. So keep in mind, not all members of parliament are allowed in the voting of the presidential election. Whereas in case of impeachment, that I will be telling you, again the impeachment requires some the electoral college. Uh, in that case, there is a little bit of variation. Okay, when we will be discussing the impeachment, at that time I will tell you. Okay, now we are done with the parliament. Another component of the electoral college is the state legislative assemblies. Pay attention to that, where we are talking about assemblies. Okay, assembly means there are few states where we follow the bicameral structure: legislative assembly, legislative council. But in case of election process of president, council is not allowed, assembly is allowed. So in state where there is a council, council is not allowed, because the members of councils are not directly elected by us, we the people of India. So the council is not allowed, but assemblies is allowed. If the state does not have council, though obviously we are left with the assembly only, so the assembly members are allowed. Again, the things comes up, sir, even in the assemblies also, everyone is not elected. There are some nominated members also. The same rule applies here also. All the elected members or elected MLAs of state assemblies are allowed in electoral college, not nominated members. Okay, so we are done with the states, we are done with our parliament. Now what about union territories? As I said that the president of India is a president of everyone now. So why the union territories are being left out? So the union territories, the which has legislative assembly, okay, are also the member of that electoral college. So the elected MLAs of union territories like Delhi and Puducherry. Okay? So they are also the member of electoral college of president election. So these forms the overall electoral college. They participate in the election process, they elect the president. Okay, now here we've identified that who is going to vote out. Now the next question is how they are going to vote out. That also we have to find out. So now we will be discussing, they usually the process they follow in the voting of the president. Okay, now as we said that in the electoral college there are MLAs and MPs. MLAs from the state legislative assemblies and MPs from the parliament. Now the question comes up, sir, we have 28 states and almost every state has an legislative assemblies, and if we go with a rough idea like 100 or 200 members are there, and if we multiply, it is going to be more than the number of MPs we have. How much MPs we have, right? In 550 in Lok Sabha and 250 in Raj Sabha. So that is, so if a person enjoys a majority in the state legislative assemblies, is obviously going to win the election. So to avoid that, we come up with a formula. Okay, so there is a formula I will be explaining you out. Please pay attention. UPSC has asked a prelims question on this. Okay, so please pay attention that what the formula we use it, so that we make an equal level playing field for MPs as well as MLAs. Now take an example of Sachin Pilot and Jyotiraj Sindhu. So Sachin Pilot is an MLA from Rajasthan. So we are going to take an example from the Rajasthan. Okay. Number of assembly seat in Rajasthan are 200. We take up the population of Rajasthan. Now pay attention, the population of Rajasthan based on 1971 census. It's not on 2011 or 2001. We're still following the census data of 1971. Okay, now let's say it is 2.58 crore, the population of the Rajasthan, and number of assembly seats are 200. So if we go with the value of vote of each MLA, it will be 2.58 crore divided by 200 and multiplied by 1000. That will come around 129 number. So the value of Sachin Pilot vote, I'm not talking about the individual value, obviously he has a high value, okay, but the value of vote of Sachin Pilot's vote in presidential election is 129. Okay, now similarly we will take out the total value of all states of MLAs, means the whole the state of Rajasthan. What is the total value of MLAs? 129 is a single values vote of Sachin Pilot. Similarly, we have 200 MLAs, so that will become around 200 into 129. It's around 25,800 is the value vote of Rajasthan's MLA. Similarly, same formula, population divided by number of seats, will be applicable to other states also, like Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, right? For example, in the case of Uttar Pradesh, if we go there, so Uttar Pradesh, there the population is around 24 crores. Okay? The seats are 400, so 24 crores divided by 400, that means the value is going to differ, right? So what we are going to do, that we are going to identify the value of each states, like we find out for the Rajasthan, that is 25,800. And for the east state, let's say UP, we come up like 30,000. For example, MP, we come up around, let's say 20,000. What we are going to do, that we are going to sum them. And then we are going to identify the total values of MLA votes. That comes around 5 lakh, around 5.5 lakh. This is the total value of MLAs of whole India. Now, the whole India is being now going to equate to the MPs, because MPs are from the whole of India. From every state, those MPs are coming up. What we are going to do, that total value of votes of all MLAs, that is 5.5 lakh, will be considered equivalent to the MPs also. And the total number of MPs is 543 in Lok Sabha, 233 in Rajya Sabha, so that will be around 776. Vote of value of each MP, that will 5.5 lakh divided by 776, that will come around 708. So the value of vote of Jyotirao Sindha is 708. What was the value of vote of Sachin Pilot? 129. Value of vote of Jyotirao Sindhu? 708. Got it? The difference? Okay. Similarly, the total value of all MPs, that is 776 into 708, that will be again going to 5.5, because we have equivalent, consider it equivalent to each other. That's how the values of votes of MPs and MLAs are considered. And then when they start voting out, based on that, we elect. So the value of vote of MLAs and MPs are not equal. Remember? Okay. And the MLAs of one state and MLA of different state, the value of vote can vary, because there are two factors, that is population and number of seats, that can create a variation. Okay. I hope this has been clear, the values of votes. The question has been asked in the UPSC prelims. That's why I take up and try to explain you with an example. Okay. Now let's move to the next part. The concept of single transferable vote, what it's all about. As I said, that the election process of president is indirect. That is not direct elections. Okay? Everyone is not going to vote it out. We select our MPs and MLAs, and they are the part of it. The electoral college who select the president. In that also, there is a different method being used. That is single transferable vote. In case of R, if you have voted out, I hope you might, at least one election you might have voted out. Okay, either the general elections or the state assemblies. Okay, if you have seen that there is a wallet, or right now we have an EVM machine. In EVM machines, the candidates' names are there, and you have to select a one, press the button, the candidate which you want to vote out. That's a process we follow in general elections. Whereas in case of president, that is not the case. What we do that, we follow a single transferable vote. What does it mean? There is a ballot paper. In the ballot paper, obviously those who are contesting for the presidential election, their name will be listed down. Here, you have to give the order of your preference. That's a variation. In case of our general election in state assembly, we selected, let's say we want we want the Murmu to be the president or prime minister or something. So we will directly select Murmu. Okay, or we want XYZ, we will directly select the XYZ. But in case of the presidential election, those MPs and MLAs, they can't do that. What they have to do, they have to give the order of their preference. The first preference we want Draupadi Murmu. Second preference we want Sinha. Though if you remember that in the contest of the Draupadi Murmu, Jain Sinha were the another person who was contesting. So I would have taken this example for the better understanding. And let's say third person XYZ, and you kept it as a third. So you are giving the preferences 1, 2, 3. Another person, what he decided that look, I want Jain Sinha to be the president of India. So he will be my first preference. Second preference will be my Draupadi Murmu, and third preference will be XYZ. This is A, this is B. Now let's see C person. He decided, look, I want to give first preference to XYZ, second preference to Draupadi Murmu, and third preference to the Sinha. He gave his order. Similarly, there will be another person, D. He said that, look, I want to give the more preference to the Draupadi Murmu, second preference to Jain Sinha, and third preference to the XYZ. Similarly, we have E. He decided, look, I want to give them a first preference to the XYZ, second preference to the Draupadi Murmu, and third preference to the Jain Sinha. Okay, this is how everyone started voting out. Now the question come up, sir, here we are giving the preferences. Then how we are going to identify the winners? Now, there will be stages going on. Okay, in case of the president election, whoever get the 50% of the vote plus one, he will be declared the winner. Okay, so let's start the stage 1. Okay, now let's start the counting. In the stage 1, what we will be doing it, we will be taking out all the ballots, and we will be looking who is the first preference of everyone. In this case, Draupadi Murmu was the first preference. So let's say there is a 3 candidates, Draupadi Murmu, Sinha, and XYZ. So this vote goes here. Here Sinha was the first preference. The vote goes here. XYZ was a preference. The vote goes here. Draupadi Murmu was the first preference. Votes goes here. E's first preference was XYZ. Votes goes here. So everyone's first preference will be seen out in the first round. So in the first round, we will see, okay, first preference. Now see who crossed this 50% plus 1 margin. We found nobody. If in case anybody, let's say Draupadi Murmu has crossed it, there will be no further rounds. She will be declared winner. But here, nobody crossed the 50% mark. So what we are going to do that? Now we are going for the second round. Now, what is the second round? In this case, XYZ was the least, okay, who got the least first preferences. So we will take out the votes of XYZ. Votes of XYZ. Okay, and then we will be sending out in the because we know that XYZ is not going to win it because he's the least one, least first preference. So we will take out its votes and see who is the second preference in the ballot papers of the XYZ. For example, here XYZ was the first preference, but here second preference was Draupadi Murmu. So this vote will go into Draupadi Murmu's account. Similarly, we have seen that is first preference was XYZ, but second preference was Draupadi Murmu. So again, this vote will also goes into the account of Draupadi Murmu. That's how the second round come up. That's how the second round come up, and we will see whether the Draupadi Murmu has crossed the 50% mark or not. Usually, if there are only two candidates left out, so obviously one will be getting the 50%, and another one will be less than 50%. That's an obvious one. So in that case, in the second round, if there are only two candidates are left out, we will get a final winner. But in case, let's say there are 4 or 5 members, okay? And in the second round, 3 members are left out. Again, we will go next round. We will take out the votes of the least one and see who is the next preference given in that ballot papers. That's how we decide the winner of the presidential election. This is the concept of single transferable vote. The idea is a little bit complex. That's why this idea was not introduced in general elections and state assemblies, because it will be very difficult to create an awareness among the general public. But you are an UPSC aspirant. I hope you have understood this complex process of single transferable vote of the president election. The process is being followed in the case of president only. Okay, so this is the concept of single transferable vote of the president. So now we have identified, we have the electoral college are done. The process has been, the election process, the values of the votes have been decided. The election has been conducted, and we finally got our winner. Let's say Srimati Draupadi Murmu has been declared the winner, and she is the president of our country. Now the next question come up in the Draupadi Murmu. They look, okay, I become the president now. What powers I have? What I'm supposed to do that? So here we are going to read about the powers of the president. So there are the multiple powers, okay, of the president. If we go with, there is an executive powers, legislative powers, financial powers, judicial powers, diplomatic powers, military powers, and some emergency powers also. Okay. So these are the powers which the president has. That is a different case, that these powers are being exercised on the aid and advice of Council of Minister. Okay. But these are the powers which usually the president enjoys. Okay. Now let's talk about the executive powers. What are the executive powers? As we know that there are organs of government has 3 organs. One is executive, one is legislative, and another one is judicial. And president enjoys all the 3 powers on their domain. So executive is those who implement the laws, legislative who make the laws, and judiciary who judges if there is a violation of laws. So he will take up like the penal provisions or something, and that is been done by the judiciary. So the executive powers of president is that to appointment process. He appoints the president, the prime ministers and other ministers. Whoever has a majority in Lok Sabha, the president has a power to decide, okay, this political party or this person has a majority, he will be appointed as a prime minister. Now he has to prove his majority in the house. Remember that. While appointing the prime minister, or in case of chief minister in states, that has been done by the governor, because the president and the governor are the parallel figures with little bit of variation. Okay. So in case of the prime minister, you have to prove your majority. Prove your majority. You need not to have the majority at the first stance. Okay. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? इलेक्शन में आपके पास मेजॉरिटी होना जरूरी नहीं है, आपको प्रूव करना जरूरी है. तो अगर प्रेसिडेंट को लगता है कि फला पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के पास मेजॉरिटी हो सकती है, तो वो उसको अपॉइंट करेगा एंड ही विल गिव यू 6 months टाइम पीरियड टू प्रूव हिज मेजोरिटी, कि अब आप अपनी मेजोरिटी प्रूव करो. दैट इज द प्रोविजंस. ठीक है. तो the appointment of prime ministers as well as ministers is been done by the president. Okay. Again, attorney generals, CAG, chairman of UPSC, governors of the states are also appointed by the president. Okay, that is a different case, that it has been aided and advised by the council of minister, but it has been appointed by the president. Directly administered of the union territories. As we know that union territories are special areas where the union try to take the control of it, and in union it is been directly under the control of the president. Okay. Appointment of interstate council. So we have in our provisions in our to improve the federal structures. Okay. So the appointments of interstate councils has been done by the president, and it comes under the executive powers of the president. Declaring the schedule areas. If we know that article schedule 5, it has few provisions regarding the tribal areas, because we know that the tribal areas has a different cultures, and to protect them we need to provide some safeguards, and one of the mechanism we find out that we will be declare the tribal dominated areas as a scheduled areas, so that their administration, their legislatives and all those things can be kept in such a way that their culture can be safeguards and their culture can be preserved out. So the power is been given to the president to declare any area as a schedule area under schedule 5. Okay, that is also considered as an executive power of president. Now when we talked about the legislative powers, remember that when we talked about the legislature, parliament, we have Rajya Sabha, we have Lok Sabha. Along with this, the president is also the part of parliament, because the law become act when, the bill become act when it has been passed by Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and has been received the assent from the president. Then only the bill becomes the act. Okay, so that is a one executive legislative power of president, giving assent, withhold or return a bill, so on. Apart from this, the sessions of the parliament, dissolutions of parliament, all those things is been done by the president only. He decide that when we are going to call the session of parliament, okay, and when we are going to dissolve it, it is been done by the president, not by the Lok Sabha speaker or chairman of Rajya Sabha. Summon of joint sittings, that is also been done by the president only. The only president has a power to decide that on that day we will be conducting a joint sitting of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Addressing the first session of parliament every year after each general election. So it's something like after each general election, even after every financial years, the first session is being addressed by the president. In that, it's considered as a motion of thanks. Here, the president usually tells the programs of the government, what the government has planned out for the next financial year. Here, the president usually gives, on the behalf of the government, address the first session of Lok Sabha, okay, and Rajya Sabha, parliament only. And then some extraordinary powers like ordinance is been given to the president. The extraordinary powers means, look, ordinance, the law, we have the provision that the law will be made when the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha pass it and then get a assent from the president. But if there is some emergency situation arised and either of the house is not in session, let's say Lok Sabha is not in the session, Rajya Sabha is in session, or Rajya Sabha is not in session, Lok Sabha is in session. In that case, emergency has arisen, we need to have some law. So in that case, the president has been given a power to pass an ordinance to deal with it. Though the lifespan of an ordinance is different, is limited, because obviously when the house resumes, it has to be presented in both the house and it has to be passed by both the house, and then it becomes a law. Because the law has to be debated and discussed. No? That's the whole purpose. That's why we have the parliament. The function of parliament is to debate and discussion and come up with better ideas and better laws for our society. So in extraordinary situations, the ordinance power has been given to the president that he can pass a law as an ordinance to deal with such emergency situation if either of the house is not in the session. Similarly, the president also enjoys the financial powers. The financial powers means that the money bills is been introduced only after the prior approval of president. So usually the normal bills, what is the process? It has been introduced directly into Lok Sabha or Raj Sabha. Once it has been passed by both the house, then it goes to the president. But in the case of money bill, the president will you will have to take the first prior approval of the president, then only you can introduce in the Lok Sabha. Again, remember the money bill is being introduced only in Lok Sabha, not in Raj Sabha. Okay. The prior recommendation, he also laid down annual financial statement. Annual financial statement is basically the budget. So the budget is being presented by the president, okay, in the House of Parliament. Then we have a finance commission every 5 years. To appoint the finance commission, the president has a power to appoint a finance commission for every 5 years. Okay. No demand from the grant can be made except on the recommendation on. So we have a consolidated fund of India. Okay, in consolidated fund of India, obviously to take out the if you want to take the money from that, withdraw money from the consolidated fund of India, you need a money bill. A money bill has to be, as I said, that it should be need a prior approval of the president. So obviously no grant from the consolidated fund of India cannot be made without the permission of, indirectly from the permission of president. Okay, make advance out of contingencies fund of India also. So we have contingency funds also that we will be discussing. There are 3 types of funds we have created. One is consolidated fund of India, constituencies fund of India, and public account. Okay. So constituency fund of India is basically being capped with the president with the corpus of around 500 crores. So to deal with emergency situations. Okay. Now coming to the judicial powers, what are the judicial powers of the president? The judicial power is the appointment of Chief Justice and the judges of Supreme Court and as well as High Court. Though that appointment is being required the recommendation or the concurrence of the advice of the we have the collegium system of Supreme Court. But final appointment is being done by the president. Okay, so that is the judicial power of president regarding the appointments of Chief Justice, judges of Supreme Court as well as High Court. Another one is the seek the advice from the Supreme Court or on any question of law or fact of. Obviously we know that on the if there is any question arising on the law, the Supreme Court has an experts, right? So they are the highly esteemed persons, those who are the judges of Supreme Court. And we talked about the legal knowledge that could not be possible that the president should have might have that legal acumen. So in that case, the president can seek the advice, can send ask the Supreme Courts to give a legal advices on certain matter of law or a fact. So that is also power being given. So Supreme Court cannot refuse it. There are 2 variations that when we will be dealing with the judiciary part, in that case we will be discussing. Okay. Another one is the pardoning power. We will be discussing in detail what are the pardoning powers being given to the President of India. Okay. Diplomatic power, it represents India's international forums because he's a first citizen of India. He's an head of states. So obviously he will be representing India. Sends and receives the diplomats, international treaties and agreements on the behalf of the president. So all those treaties are being conducted, signed on the behalf of the president. Military power, supreme commander of all the 3 forces. He is a supreme commander. Okay? Similarly, we have emergency powers. Okay? Like we have 3 types of emergencies: national emergencies, state emergencies, and financial emergencies. In that case, the president has enough certain powers, okay, to promulgate those emergencies. Okay? So these are the powers we have discussed in brief. Now, what are the veto powers? As I said that in case of legislative power. A law, a bill become act when it receive the assent from the president. First passed by both the house, Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha, and then require the assent of president. Then it becomes the act. In this process of, let's say this is Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha, and bill is going to the president for the assent. In this process, that there is a loophole which can be utilized as a veto powers. What are that? Absolute veto, suspensive vetoes, pocket vetoes. There are three vetoes which have been in Indian practice. There is also one of the qualified vetoes which is not in practice in Indian context. It has been in practice in US. So that's why I have not taken up. So we will be discussing these three vetoes, okay, in the process of this. Absolute veto what? Both the house decided a bill, sent to the president to make it a law. But president decided no. I does not agree with you. I don't find this act, the bill to become an act. She can simply reject it. Absolute veto, reject the recommendations of Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, okay, and she has not given the assent to the bill, so it does not become an act. That's called absolute veto. What is suspensive vetoes? Let's say the bill, this is parliament, they have sent the bill. Now the president in the belief that you should rethink again. There are certain provisions which you should think again. So what she said, she resend it back to the parliament to review it. Okay, now obviously it has been resended. It is going to be again, they are going to return it to the president. Okay, finally what are the suggestions you have made it, we had accepted, or there is a other case also that we have not accepted your ideas or the suggestions which you have suggested. We find this act is perfect in entirety. That could be the one case. Another case could be, look, yes, you have suggested, we find your suggestions and we have incorporated and amended a little bit, and again we are sending as a new format. There is a two possibilities. Either of the possibilities, if the bill has been returned back to the president after she has sent it back, now she has to give the assent to the bill. Now she does not enjoy the veto. Okay, now thing is, in this process, what she did, she sent it, some delays happened, they again rethink it, and again they send it back. Though now she has to give the assent, but in this process, there was some time delays, there was suspension of this time. That is why it is called suspensive veto. थोड़ा सा डिले हमने सस्पेंड कर दिया, थोड़ा हमने टाइम ले लिया, आया थोड़ा वापस कर दिया, उसमें टाइम लग गया, और फिर जब वापस आया उसमें थोड़ा टाइम लग गया. तो लेट्स से हमने 2-3 महीने का हमने डिले क्रिएट कर दिया. तो दैट इज व्हाई इट इज कॉल्ड एज सस्पेंसिव वीटोस. व्हाट इज पॉकेट वीटो? अगेन गो विद दिस प्रोसेस. Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha jointly decided, sent a bill to the president. Now she has a two option, three option. Either she can accept it, okay, I am giving the assent. Either she can reject it, absolute veto, or she can resend it and again it can come back. That is called suspensive veto. These are three things that has been written. But in constitution there is a loophole. The loophole is that it is not been told, or it has not been mentioned, how much time should president take to give the assent. ये लिखा ही नहीं है कहीं पर कि ऐसा नहीं है कि आज आया तो आपको एक हफ्ते के अंदर you have to give the assent. That is not written in the constitution, and that's create a loophole for this. They sent it and the president said, हाँ हाँ आपने भेजा है, अभी हम लोग उस पर विचार कर रहे हैं, उसको भेज करते हैं। फिर 2 महीने बाद फिर से कहा कि मैम आपको भेजा था वो बिल, अभी तक आपने किया नहीं, अभी तक उसका एसेंट नहीं मिला। हाँ हाँ सोच रहे हैं, उसको हम थोड़ा देख रहे हैं, उसको समझ के फिर कर देंगे। टाइम लिमिट इज नॉट बीन मेंशन, तो अब ये नहीं कह सकता कि भाई 2 महीने में करो, 3 महीने में करो। तो क्या हो गया, दैट बिल बिकम इन द पॉकेट ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट। द the president is not either giving an assent as well as not rejecting it. So obviously the bill has not received the assent, so it is still not an act. So it has not been enforced in the country. अभी वो आया ही नहीं है कंट्री में, क्यों? क्योंकि वो बिल एक्ट बना ही नहीं है, क्योंकि प्रेसिडेंट ने असेंट ही नहीं दिया। बट और पार्लियामेंट उसको फोर्स भी नहीं कर सकती, क्योंकि वहां पर टाइम लिमिट ही नहीं लिखा है। ठीक है, ना ही उन्होंने रिजेक्ट करा है, कि अगर उन्होंने रिजेक्ट कर दिया होता तो वो नए फॉर्मेट में शायद बना के बेचते। That's why it becomes a pocket veto. Okay, so there are 3 veto powers, so it is a discretionary powers comes up, okay, as a veto powers. Now coming to the pardoning powers, as I said that the president also enjoys the judicial powers. What are the pardoning powers it has? Pardoning powers talked about, there is a one person who has been convicted and he has been sentenced few, let's say he has been given a death penalty for the crime he has done it. Now a power has been given to the president after all your appeals from the Supreme Court, or after exhausting all your remedies which you have been given in the law. Okay, आप सुप्रीम कोर्ट गए, आप हाई कोर्ट गए, हाई कोर्ट की अपील आपने सुप्रीम कोर्ट में करी, सुप्रीम कोर्ट हमने रिव्यू पिटीशन डाली। ठीक है, सो सब करने के बाद नाउ यू हैव स्टिल अ वन ऑप्शन अवेलेबल टू रीच आउट टू द प्रेसिडेंट। आप प्रेसिडेंट के पास जा सकते हो, ठीक है, और उनसे कह सकते हो कि हुजूर ये चीज़ें मेरे साथ हुई हैं और इसके लिए मैं आपसे कुछ चीज़, आपसे आपकी इंटरवेंशन चाह रहा हूँ। द थिंग विच यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड is that here the president is not sitting as a judge. वो जज की तरह आपको सुनेगा नहीं कि हाँ तुम अपनी बात बताओ, तुम अपनी बात बताओ, मैं डिसाइड करूंगा। नो, president is not in that capacity, that this job is of supreme court and high court और judiciary. president का ये काम नहीं है। president will act, आपकी एक अर्जी आएगी, you send an appeal, वो उसको देखेगा, and if he finds that there is an error of judgment or there is something like, okay, because process was not followed properly or the person has not been heard properly, in that case he can use these following powers. Okay, so for this, the first power, that is pardoning. What does a pardoning means? Pardoning means you are being absolved from all the charges. आपने किसी की डेथ मर्डर करा है, आपको डेथ पेनल्टी हुई है, बट प्रेसिडेंट फाइंड आउट कि नहीं वो डेथ पेनल्टी हम कंसिडर नहीं करें, हम आपको पार्डन कर रहे हैं। सो इन दैट केस अब आप प्योर इनोसेंट हो, यू विल नॉट बी कंसिडर एज अ मर्डरर। ठीक है, यू आर प्योर इनोसेंट, यू आर फ्री टू लिव योर लाइफ इन अ सोसाइटी। आपको अब जेल वेल कोई आपके पास चार्जेस नहीं है, दैट इज पार्डनिंग। आपके सारे चार्जेस को हमने फ्री कर दिया। सेकेंड वन इज कम्यूटेशन। व्हाट इज द कम्यूटेशन मीन्स? In commutation, here we will change the nature of the punishment. Let's say a person was given a death penalty for a murder. The president decided कि नहीं, इसको death penalty नहीं, we will give him life imprisonment. So आप convicted हो, आपके charges को consider किया गया, लेकिन आपको जो penalty है उसको चेंज कर दिया, उसका नेचर, उसको आपको डेथ पेनल्टी की जगह आपको लाइफ इंप्रिजमेंट दे दिया। दैट इज कॉल्ड कम्यूटेशन। अनदर वन इज रेमिशन। व्हाट इज द रेमिशन मीन्स? इन रेमिशन मीन्स हेयर वी आर नॉट कंसिडरिंग टू चेंज द नेचर ऑफ पेनल्टी, हम उसी में ही कुछ आपको कम कर देंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू वर गिवन द लाइफ इंप्रिजमेंट और लेट्स से यू वर सेंटेंस फॉर 7 years, कि भाई 7 साल की आपकी सजा है, बट द प्रेसिडेंट डिसाइडेड कि नहीं, इसको 7 साल नहीं, इसको हम लोग 4 साल कर देते हैं। योर जो आपके सेंटेंस है वो सेम रहा, नेचर भी सेम रहा, बट उसको हमने रिड्यूस कर दिया. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड रेमिशन. 7 की जगह हमने 4 साल कर दिया. 4 instead of 7 years of imprisonment. What is a reprieve mean? Reprieve means, let's say the court had decided, if we have finalized the death penalty, a person should be hanged on following day. Okay, but the person has reached out to the president for the appeal. So till now, when the president has not taken a decision on its appeal, the death penalty cannot be conducted. So there will be a suspension of, okay, the punishment till the decision of the president. So that is called reprieve. Respite, there are some special cases. For example, there is a pregnant lady or some handicapped. So some concession been given in case of the punishment. So these are the pardoning powers a president enjoys. A president can use those powers, okay, to deal with this. So these are executive powers. These are the judicial powers. Now another executive power is the ordinance making power. I have already discussed it. Okay? Article 123 empowers the president to pass an ordinance in case either of the house, Lok Sabha as well as Raj Sabha, is not in session, so to deal with some emergency situation or something like that. Okay, so he can pass a law. Okay, so these are the ordinance making power. Now, there is one thing also which is regarding the impeachment, which I think we can discuss a little bit. The slide I think I missed out. So when we talked about impeachment process, the president can be impeached. Okay, there is a one. To get out of from the office of president, there is a one method is the president itself is resigning it. Another one is the impeachment process. What is the impeachment process? Is that in impeachment process, the ground for for the impeachment of president, like impeachment means the members of parliament are deciding, okay, look, this person is not fit to be a president and we want to remove it from his office. That is the process of impeachment. And the ground they will be deciding is the violation of constitution. If a person is violating the constitution, then the member of parliament, remember that, parliament can decide that person can be removed. Now, if we remember that electoral college, parliament, state legislative assemblies, as well as assemblies of union territories were the member of electoral college to decide who will be the president of India. Now, who will not, the person should be removed from the office of president. Parliament is has a power. State legislative assemblies are not allowed in this process. Now, question come up, sir. In the parliament, we have seen there are two types of persons, nominated as well as elected members. In elections, only electeds were allowed. But in case of impeachment, nominated are also allowed. Only parliament can decide the impeachment of the president. The process is simple, that there is a 1/4 of the paper members of either of the house. They will come up, they will pass in a resolution. Okay, let's say if it has been passed by one house, then it will be sent to the second house. Second house also again it has to be passed by the special majority. That is the 2/3 of the total votes and presenting. The members of the total members of the house, it should be passed by more than 2/3 of majorities. And if it has been passed by both the houses, then the person can be impeached. Okay, and there is one of the condition also that it has to be conducted in one only single session. Okay, so this is the impeachment process of the president. So that's all for the regarding the office of the president. I tried to cover up the many areas. There might be few areas which we can discuss later on in our classes. So that's all from my side. Thank you, everyone.